And when you're in England, one of the things that you do is you do shows in Edinburgh, in Scotland, the festival in August, because that's kind of like the big convention. That's how you get known, because there really aren't the kind of TV shows where you, like Johnny Carson or Letterman in this country, where you can go and make one appearance and can become famous. So you got to do the Edinburgh Festival, and it's great. And I did 2 shows up there. I did Viagra Falls and Die on Stage Loud American Bastard, and a lot of leafleting and people getting in, and you get your shows reviewed. The following year, I wanted to do a show at a better venue because I didn't have a press office and I sometimes was performing for one person. So I called up and I didn't get my show in, and I was starting to get really sad and mad, and I was angry and I was crying, and I thought, you know, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I just cannot, even to come to England and get so far and can't go any further. I'm a fucking failure. And then I got angry about it. I said, you know, who are these guys? These guys that I've been trying to impress all this time. These Mitzies and Buds and agents and this guy and that guy. Sure, they can help you, but they never return your calls. And they always say they're going to do something for you and they don't do it, right? And we expect so much. And we're nice to them, but we don't like them. And this and that. And they're all assholes. They think that they know everything. They got the Palm Pilots. They're talking to somebody. They're giving you a funny look. They're assholes. I don't like them. They're creepy people. They're liars. They're bastards. And I thought, hey, I can do that. There is a place called Turning Point Scotland in Glasgow, Scotland, and they treat heroin addicts and alcoholics. It's a real train spotting, it's real life. And they had contacted me a year previous because they had heard that I was addicted to show business and they wanted me to do a benefit, but I couldn't because it conflicted with my time. So I called them up and I said, hi, my name's Stephen Allen Green. They go, yeah, we know. And I said, listen, if I produce a comedy charity show for you, would you allow me to do it in your name? You won't have to do anything. They said, sure. So then I called up the Queen's Hall, which is a 900-seat theater in Edinburgh. I said, how much are you for one night? They said 400 pounds, around 700 bucks. I said, you're on. Now I'm producing something. And what do I call it? High on Laughter. I called it High on Laughter. So there I am. So what did I do? I came back to America, and I'm like talking. I'm getting some comedian friends to come over, and some comics from LA, and there was my friend Tom Tully, and he had a group, improv troupe called Off the Wall, and they had Robin Williams in it at one point, and George Wendt, and I liked Tom, and I liked their group, and I loved improv, and got them involved in the festival, and they got their own show at the Gilded Balloon at the festival, and then we tried to get Robin Williams, and I faxed Robin's agent, and I've been on stage with Robin several times, and I figured, well, if I'm doing the show, and he goes to visit Billy Connolly up in Scotland for Highland Games, and he's at that time, and it's drug addiction, and he talks about he's talked about High on Laughter, you know, or something like that, so why not? And his manager called me from LA and said, Robin doesn't need a plane, he's got his private plane, he might do it, and he never did in the end, but then we got George Wendt. Cheers, Norm for Cheers. How about that? We had Norm, America's beer drinking icon for a drug and alcohol charity. What could be better than that? And we did 3 nights, and it was fantastic. And we had Zach Galifianakis and Rick Wright and some British comics, and we did it. And the next year, we took it to a 3,300-seat place in Edinburgh, and we drew in 2,000 people for the one night. We were competing against another charity event. We were very proud of it. And then the following year, I decided to produce this event in London. I said, well, we'll keep moving up the mark a little bit here. And you know, when you're in LA, and you're saying, hi, I'm Stephen Allen Green. I produce a comedy charity event in Edinburgh. Edinburgh, Scotland. It's the world's largest arts festival. It's much easier to say, I'm producing a comedy charity show at the London Palladium where the Beatles played for the Queen. People go, ooh. So now I needed some stars. And I'm going to film this thing because I had a little extra budget, and for like 20,000 bucks, I was able, no, actually 15,000 bucks, between 15 and 20, I gotta look at the missing 5, but we had cameras, and we had a jib and a camera, and then we had a board, and it was all professional stuff. So I figured, well, if I can produce this thing, sell it to UK TV, sell it to American TV, take back the money that it costs to do it and give some money to the charity and then the broadcast, it's all brilliant, it could work. So I'm talking to stars. And one of the things is that in England, they don't know who we are stars over here, and only slightly over here. So for example, I had agencies from all over LA, ICM and William Morris faxing me their client list, and I said, I need a star to sell at the London Palladium. And they're saying, how about Joe Schmickelbottoms? Who? He's on I Am a Pancake, Friday nights on Fox. And I'm going, what are you talking about? We don't even know Dennis Miller or Jay Leno in the UK. They, what, really? Aren't they world famous? No, dickhead, they are America famous. We don't get NBC, we don't get HBO over in England, so we just don't know who they are. They're not movie stars. So, I was talking to Mike Myers, because we had Neil Malarkey, his former partner, in my first show, Malarkey and Myers. and we're going to reunite them. And I was talking to Mike, and I had Roseanne for a few minutes. She's insane. I had Charles Fleischer, almost, voice of Roger Rabbit. Yeah, the rabbit died. And then this guy named Max Alexander. Oh, fuck it. So, it's a blessing. It's a mitzvah. Can you believe this? The video didn't work. It's a mitzvah. And Crazy Gideon works out at my gym. It's true. He's like so, regular, I expect him to go, I'm using that machine! Anyway. So, I'm using that machine and I'm going to throw a TV through the window! That was a sympathy laugh that took the bit too far, didn't I, Rick?
Down here now.
Oh, wow. Wow, it's amazing. It's like my angel of comedy. So, Max Alexander. Now, Max is this corpulent comedian. That's his act. He does the classic joke that either Louis Anderson or himself either came up simultaneously with, which is like, his opening line is, let me get this microphone out of your way so you can see me. All right, he's a funny guy. Hey, he works more than I do. He opens for Tom Jones in Vegas. He's got some funny stuff.
A couple of weeks ago, I'm reading the newspaper about this thing called penal enlargement. So I get it done. And I know where you're looking. And the answer, it's huge, huge. But now my balls look real small. So I had those enlarged. Then my knees looked funny. One operation led to another, and now I'm fat. With a small penis again.
Max came up to me. Max had my business card. He kept coming up to me and saying, so what about that charity? And I'd say, what about it, Max? It's booked by a friend of mine in England, which was kind of like my cover. And he'd say, well, what about it? Well, we're doing it in February. He kept coming up to me. Then one day at the Improv, where I was no longer banned, thank you, Tom. Max came up to me and said, did I ever tell you that I'm friends with Jerry Lewis? And I said, no. And I said, the Jerry Lewis? He goes, yeah, Jerry Lewis, comedian. I said, no. And he said, would you like Jerry Lewis on your show? I can get you Jerry Lewis on your show. And I said, Max, did I ever tell you how funny I thought you were? So the next thing I know, Max is helping me craft a letter to Jerry. And the way to catch Jerry Lewis, if you're fishing for Jerry Lewis, on the end of the hook, you put a letter which says we want to honor you. We want to give you an award. And I figured, well, this is perfect, because I do a comedy charity show. The great Jerry Lewis is done, great comedy and the biggest charity show in the world. So it would be perfect. And he happened to have played the London Palladium 50 years previously, exactly, with Dean Martin. So I thought, well, this is perfect. So I sent him the letter. The next thing I know, I get a phone call from Jerry Lewis. I can't believe it. It's Jerry Lewis. Wow, Jerry. Hi, Jerry. How you doing? Yeah, wow. He invites me down to his yacht in San Diego for lunch. That's cool. So Saturday, I'm racing down there. I don't have anything to eat. I get down there. There's this special place where the yacht is, and I go to the yacht, and the guy comes to the gate, and I go in, and there's this yacht, and there's this big man inside. He's put on a lot of weight. I haven't seen him since we all started seeing him. He put on a lot of weight because he had a pulmonary infection, and his doctor, Dr. DeBakey, the man who did the first open heart surgery, gave him a thing called prednisone, which is a hormone, which saved his life, but also made him get fat. But he still looked Jerry, and we sat there, and we talked, and he had his computer, he's taking my photo, and he's writing this novel that Random House gave him $1.5 million to do, and about him and Dean Martin. He's handing me chapters, and read this. What do you think? He's telling me a story about him and Michael Caine, and him and Senator Jr. and Winston Churchill, and then Jerry's saying to me, They're always comparing me to Charlie Chaplin. I don't understand, because Chaplin's such a god. And here I am thinking on my feet. I go, well, that's because, Jerry, you can't see that everyone else sees you as a god. So it's only a slight move, a lateral move. They see Chaplin and they see you, and it's very simple. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's right. And people were coming in, sycophants and help, and they were going, hi, Jerry. And Jerry go, I'm funny, right? And he goes, yeah, I'm funny. No, that's not true. But he was very, very human, and fascinating. And I felt that we were really friends. I didn't feel like I was sitting with Jerry Lewis. I felt like saying with any one of you. It was just wonderful, and it was amazing. So I asked him to do the show, and he agreed to do the show. And he had certain conditions, and the following conditions were that he wanted a 36-piece orchestra. He wanted to bring 7 people with him. He wanted to all fly first class. First class, the Dorchester Hotel, one of the most famous hotels, richest expensive hotels in the world. He wanted 24-hour security, and he wanted to have a limousine. And I thought all of that was reasonable, so I said yes to it, conditionally, because as a producer, you can always come back and renegotiate until it gets into the contract. And I said, by the way, Jerry, how much would it be to film you? So in other words, he knew he's being filmed. And he told me, I think it was $150,000 worldwide. I didn't even calculate how much it would cost. But if I'm producing a comedy charity show starring Jerry Lewis, I figured, hey, I'm going to sell this show. You know, it's going to be incredible. Wow, bring it back to the Palladium. It's fantastic. So I go back to LA. I didn't get any lunch, just a popsicle, but that was fine. I go find some food. I go up and I drive back, and it was an incredible day. You know, it was like, wow, this has changed my life. And I sent him a letter, a fax. Dear Jerry, great meeting with you. Here's the things we agreed upon, but let's get to details later. He calls me up the next day, or as soon as he gets the fax, and he says to me, Stephen Allen Green, he says, and I said, yeah. He goes, I'm not doing your show. I'm not doing your show. And I said, without missing a beat, I said, thank God, who the hell needs you? And he laughed. And I knew I was dealing with another comedian. No matter what the iconic stature is, he's another comedian. He knew he was dealing with a comedian. No matter what my iconic stature, no matter what my stratus is, comedians. So we talked. We talked and we joked, and he told me basically that he was concerned about his health and he was concerned about his appearance. And I said to him, well, Jerry, it's entirely up to you. But you are doing the telethon the week before. So, you've seen by millions of people. So I think it's fine. You know, they're going to love you in London. It's fantastic. Meanwhile, I had a publicist in London who I said we had Jerry Lewis, and she went, really? Jerry Lee Lewis? The people in London didn't necessarily know Jerry Lewis. Those who did went, wow, Jerry Lewis, and those didn't know. The other thing was he was concerned about his health. And I said to him, Jerry, look, I'm not your doctor. I don't want you coming. Don't do my show. Don't do it. I don't want you doing my show, especially if it's going to risk your health. I don't want you coming to London to do High on Laughter, to die to do High on Laughter. You know what I'm trying to say. And he said, no, Stephen, you and I stand on the same part of the stage. Little I know how prophetic that would be. And I knew he was winding me up, but I also kind of wanted to believe it. He was saying, you know, Stephen, you and I are no different. And I liked that. Because here I am during the day going on auditions for Buffy the Vampire Slayer for 2 lines, and then back talking to Jerry Lewis. It kind of like made me feel good about myself. And he said to me something very interesting that would have a prophetic effect later on. He said that he and Dean Martin had done a charity show for some private producers such as myself. And after they did the gig, the producers came up to them and asked them for their expense money back, for their travel and for their accommodations. And Jerry said to me, you're not going to do that, are you, Jerry? Stephen? Who am I? You're not going to ask for the money back, are you? I said, no, of course not. Why would I do that? Of course I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, Jerry. Of course not. He said, good. A few weeks later, I sent him another fax. My press agent had set up about 24 interviews, and Jerry said he'd give me 2 weeks of press. And because people were kind of like iffy on who Jerry Lewis was in this generation of Britain, I was like a bit concerned. So I really wanted to get that press out. We also needed his travel agent, his travel name, and we needed three people. By the way, we negotiated down to 3 people traveling with him, not 7. We negotiated down to an 18-piece orchestra, which is all you need. And these were like great musicians from the Jules Holland Band, and a midget on a show.